Welcome back to the Bluebloods, the official podcast of FCS Football Central on SI, presented by FanDuel. Our guest today is a two-time Southland Conference Coach of the Year. He led Southeastern Louisiana to their first Southland championship since 2014, 2 years ago, has 4 appearances in the FCS playoffs. He's one of my favorite coaches to sit down and chop it up with. Let's welcome Southeastern Louisiana head coach Frank Scelfo to the show. Coach, how have you been, man? It's been way too long since we've had you on the show.
Yeah, Zach, I appreciate you getting me on, man. You're famous across the country, so any chance I get to come on here, man, I'm excited about it.
Oh no, man! Not anything compared to you. I do want to get into last season though before we get into some more national
Sure.
topics. Man, I haven't had a chance to talk to you since then, man. But 2023 was a rough year. But you guys turned it back around. Finished 6-1 in conference 2 years ago. This past year, get back to the FCS playoffs right in the middle of that wild Southland race we saw. When you look back and has had time to reflect, what's the biggest differences between the last 2 years with this turnaround and what happened in 2023?
The big thing is we were in the playoffs. We won the conference in 22 and got in the playoffs, got beaten overtime over at Sanford in the second round. And after that game, I felt like coming back in 23 was the best football team we were going to have since I've been here. And I was really looking forward to it. And not unbeknownst to me, the transfer portal just pounded us. We lost 9 guys, and 7 of them went to FBS, and 4 of them went to Power Five. It was Power Five then, and 4 of them went to Power Five. We got decimated, and I did not have a plan, Zach. And I said I didn't have a plan. I felt we would lose some guys. I just didn't feel like we would lose that many. And 2023 was we had a young football team. We lost a lot of games. We lost 7 games. We were in 7. We lost 7 games, which we were either tied or had the ball with a chance to take the lead in the fourth quarter and didn't get it done. And it was very disappointing. But the positive is we jumped over to 24 and we played really well. We started slow. South Dakota State we beat Eastern Washington early, but South Dakota State came in here and just ran us off the field. And then we played really well against Tarleton on the road, had a 3-point loss, and then just got going from there. And then had a 3-point loss at UIW, but like you said, won the other 6 games in the conference. And but we finished 7-3. I thought we could get into the playoffs because I really felt like we finished strong. Really disappointed we didn't get in, but we did make it a mantra for us this year. Let's take it out of the committee's hands and put it in our hands. And we did. We played well, 9-1 in the FCS this year. Had 2 shutouts. A lot of games decided by halftime. Tell you the truth. And then had the 2-point loss at Lamar on the road, and that was the only blemish for us. But I thought we played well. And then disappointing with the Illinois State playoff loss. Really good football team. Now, obviously, they've proven that in the playoffs, right? But it's 7-3, and we got the ball in the fourth quarter and just couldn't get it done. We turned it over. But the turnaround was the maturity of our football team. It was a bunch of kids that were sophomores in 22 that were thrown into the fire. I mean, in 23 that were thrown into the fire with the exodus of that entire class. And then the next 2 years, he had a chance to grow, and that's what we saw the fruit of that labor this past season.
Getting more into this past season, I took a lot of heat. I don't know if you saw, I was really high on y'all earlier than a lot of people because you guys were running through. I mean, you guys were winning 40 points, 30 points, 20 points, and they weren't even competitive, coach. But then toward the later half of the season, there were a few performances where I think the offense a little bit slow in some of those key games. And obviously you mentioned the turnovers against Illinois State, where a lot of people said y'all didn't belong in the playoffs. I didn't believe that. And you saw what Illinois State did. They were one extra point away from winning the national title.
Yeah.
What was the difference in the offense? Because you guys went from being very explosive early to not really finding that explosiveness late in the season.
Well, I think the 2 games where you talk about the lack of explosiveness, one was at Lamar, and we turned the football over there and did not play well. The next one was UIW, and going into the UIW game, Zach, I'd played over in San Antonio 3 times since I've been here, and we've averaged 48 points a game in those 3 games, and we lost every game. We did not win one of those, and we made a decision this year going into that game. I don't care what the score is. We have to control the football, keep those guys off the field, and run the clock. And we're going to go for it on fourth down, but we're going to run the football so that the clock keeps moving. And if we got to punt it, we'll punt it. We threw it minimal. We kept the football. We had it for 38 minutes in that game, and we won. And so we did not expect that. Like if you were gambling and you called me, I would have said take the under, right? And so if we did not expect to score a lot of points in that game, we weren't. That wasn't our goal. Our goal was to keep them offensively off of the field. And by doing that, we felt like we could run the football, and we did. And so I was not disappointed in that outcome. The Illinois State game, we threw 4 interceptions. Had a fourth down conversion in close. We drove the ball down the field. Our offensive stats were really good in that game, a lot better than theirs was, to tell you the truth. We just didn't convert. We didn't take care of the football. So I don't think there was a issue on offense or defense on either side. That wasn't a big deal. We scored 38 points against Nichols in in that rivalry game against a really good defensive football team. And so no, I don't think that was an issue. I think it was the fact that Lamar is really good on defense, a playoff team. UIW started the season third in the country, and they were still a talented team. They just couldn't get it together. And we made a decision strategically not to do some stuff. But I was really happy on both sides of the ball and special teams last year.
Then this is why I love having you on the show, because most coaches would have just thrown it under the table and not really talked about the strategy going into that game. That's stuff that us in the media, we don't get to hear, right? We just look, we're like, man, Southeastern's putting up 49, 56, 42, and then y'all come out, and I think it was, 14 points in that game. We're like,
10
what
7.
happened
Yeah,
here?
we won 10-7. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just to say it, but I do want to ask, because the defense was elite last year. Y'all's defense
Yeah.
was one of the top in the country. A big part of that is you had the best defensive tackle in the FCS, and I think he was one of the best in college football, man. And I've already come out and said on this show, our NFL draft guy for the website's really big on him. We covered him at the Shrine Bowl. Kaleb Proctor is my favorite FCS prospect in the draft this year. Talk a little bit about him. Where's his ceiling at the next level?
Yeah, I think when you talk about him, you got to talk about him as a person, just a quality person, Zach. Just, he came out of high school, nobody recruited him. Didn't have any offers, nothing like that. And we loved him. We had him in camp. We loved him, loved his personality, his work ethic, things like that. The way we watched him. And I think that's why we're such we recruit high schools heavily. We're not a big portal football team. And our guys grow and develop and they mature and they grow up in this culture, and he was definitely a leader from that standpoint. And I think after that, we talk about that 23 season, he played some, but 24, he really started coming in his own, and the guy exploded after the season from a leadership standpoint and everything else. And, when you talk about him going to the NFL, the big question is he big enough? Can he hold up? But what and that's a valid question. It really is. But he measured at 6'2" and 291. Ran extremely well, jumped, changed the direction. All those things were good. I think what he's doing is climbing up on some draft boards. It's opening up some eyes, especially with the combine. And does he have a ceiling? I don't know. As a kid matures, they grow. They continue to grow. I think you'll see him put on some extra weight. But what you're not going to see him do is lose his enthusiasm, lose his personality from a work ethic standpoint. I just think I don't want to say a diamond in the rough because he's a good player and he's been well coached and he does a good job. I think there's a lot of growth there that could take place for somebody that's going to pay off for a long time. Never been hurt, never had an issue, never been late for anything, never missed anything, graduated in 4 years. Just a quality person, man.
I'm just going to say this, and then we're going to move on. My guy, Coach Terrell Buckley over at Valley, always says you can't teach playmaking ability. That's all Kaleb has in this game, and it's
Yeah.
hard to be a playmaker at defensive tackle. It really is. As someone who played O line, that's a tough position to go make plays. But Coach, what's the next step here, man? What me and you have talked in media days, me and you have just sat down and had conversations. You guys have been to the first round, won big games, beat Idaho with the Jerry Rice Award winner there when I was down there at Strawberry Stadium in huge fashion, lost a close overtime game at Sanford the next week. You guys have been to the second round. What's the next step for this program to get to the quarterfinals, to get to the semis and become a even more relevant contender later in the playoffs?
Yeah, when I got here, I said I wanted to be on the national scene on a regular basis. I just didn't want to be a flash, right? We've been to the playoffs 4 times, and all 4 times we've had a different quarterback leading us. So I think there's some consistency there when you got to look into the program and say, well, there is something else there besides just a good player that came in, right? So I'm pleased with that part. What we got to be able to do is bust down that door, man, and get past the second round. We've I was on the staff in Jacksonville with Gus Bradley was our head coach. Bob Babich was our defensive coordinator. Todd Wash was our defensive line coach. And for 3 seasons, all I heard about was the Bison. All I heard about was how great North Dakota State is. That's all I heard, and I never played them, right? Because I've never been an FCS ball. Then when I get here, I got 3 opportunities to win a game and go to Fargo and play. Now, that sometimes some people might say that's not a good thing to think about to go up there to play.
Yeah.
I understand that. But my son was at UIW and played up there. They played him in his career. And I wanted to go there to play because if you want to be the best, you got to measure yourself against the best. And I wanted to go to their place and play at their place. And I was excited about that. We haven't gotten there. So that's what we want to be able to do. We're playing, we're winners on a consistent basis. We are doing good things. We got the best record in the Southland over the last couple of seasons, and I want to be able to get to that playoff spot, win those games, get on the road, travel to these places, and get past the second round. Like you said, a great test for us. I think it's next season. We could go to South Dakota State. That's a place I want to go play at, Zach, and it's a school that has. I don't want to say they've mastered the national scale from a competition standpoint, but these guys won national championships. They know what it's like to get there. They know what they need to do, and they're doing it. And I want our people, our administration, our supporters to see all the things that people have. I think going to Eastern Washington was a big step for us a couple of years ago. We would like to play everybody on a home and home basis. We really would. It's getting a little more difficult now because of we play a 9-game conference schedule. We play 2 FBS games, so we got 1 opening, right? So we're trying to find that off-scheduled FCS team, but I would rather play a national perennial contender on a home and home basis than go buy a game, And it might cost us a game from a win-loss standpoint, but the only way for us to get to that point, we have to play those teams. And the only way for us to prove that the Southland is capable of getting 2 and 3 bids in like we did this past year is to go have success on a national level and not just stay local. I don't know if 9 conference games helps us or hurts us. I know that sometimes the prognosticators, you guys go, well, yeah, but they only play in the Southland, and so it's hard to judge who they are. I understand that. I can see their point. But when nobody else will play you, what are you supposed to do? And that's what my challenge is. Look, I'll play anybody on a home and home basis. Don't pay me money to go fly to your place to play you. That's not what we're going to do because you're not better than me. Let's play on a home and home basis and let's make it a 2-game series and continue it if we can. And that's why I appreciated South Dakota State, us being able to work a deal with them. Eastern Washington, work a deal with them. And, if we got to go first, we'll go first. We expect you to come back. So that's what we need to be able to do is make sure that we're consistent on a national scene. But the only way to do that, Tarleton State did it with us. The only way to do that is to play these teams who are, ranked in the top 10, top 20 every year. And I've said this from the beginning. Nobody looks at us at the beginning of the year and say, oh, there's somebody we got to take a look at. Nobody does that because we don't bring in 25 portal guys from FBS schools that can't play dead. That's the reason they're going somewhere. We don't bring those guys in. We plug in pieces that maybe we've had an injury or a transfer that opened up a hole, so we put that guy in. But our guys are homegrown, and you don't know who they are until you get out there on the field and you have to play against them.
That is a fact. I think the Southland did a good job last year. I think what was it? Lamar beat South Dakota early in the year.
Yes.
Really helped the conference. Tarleton, even though Tarleton's not in the Southland, but the UAC and Southland are kind of tied together because it's that same region. Them beating
Correct.
North Dakota does help those teams in this region. But then you got a Tennessee Tech situation, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, look at that. They don't, they're coming out of the OVC Big South. They don't deserve a." They were 1 loss, and they were like, people were saying they didn't deserve a top 16 seed, which was a whole nother, big conversation. I took a lot of heat for y'all because and I'm going to move this question up in the queue is, Coach, my argument for y'all this year, because there were some people saying y'all didn't belong in the field. There was a
Correct.
lot of people in the media that said it. My argument was in 2024, you guys go schedule Tarleton. You guys go schedule South Dakota State. Y'all
And
compete with
Eastern
Tarleton
Washington. And Eastern
and
Washington.
Eastern. Yeah, and so
Let's
you
go.
guys go out and schedule this hard out of conference schedule. Well, then the committee said, Coach Scelfo, y'all just don't have enough wins. We can't let y'all in. Well,
And two FBS schools, Zach. And two FBS schools. So we had
yeah,
those three and two FBS schools.
and all the schools y'all lost to in the FCS were all in the playoffs that year on top of that too. And then in 2025, you guys don't get obviously the schedule, you just mentioned the scheduling worked differently. It's like, well, y'all said they didn't have enough wins last year. Why now they got the wins, but now the schedule's not there. It's like y'all are talking out of both sides of your mouth on this. In your opinion, Coach, how would you revamp this FCS playoff at large bid discussion? Because every year it seems to flare up and we have different arguments every single year depending on how the bubble looks.
They have moved the goalposts every year since I got into this thing. I didn't understand the playoffs. I've always been in a bowl system, right? And so when I got here, I said, when I got here the year before, McNeese was, I think, 10-1, but they didn't get in the playoffs because they had scheduled a Division II school, and the committee said that you didn't have enough quality wins. And I said, wow, that's a good, I mean, are they watching film? Because this is a good football team. Well, so that took place. And then so we started asking questions. And well, you can't get hurt by playing a Division II school unless you lose. And it doesn't help you at all to beat them. All right. Well, they got some good Division II schools out there. And you can't get hurt by losing to an FBS school unless you beat them. Then it really affects you. It helps you out. Well, but when you get beat by somebody, because I heard this, well, y'all got beat by LSU 56-10, that's a bad loss. Well, you go to Tiger Stadium. They were ranked third in the country when we played them. I mean, yeah, it's a bad loss, but for us, it was a bad loss. But I mean, I thought we didn't get penalized for stuff like that. And we didn't score against Louisiana Tech, who turned out being a bowl team when nobody thought they were going to be very good, but they ended up having 8 wins. And, we were criticized for getting beat by those guys. And I said, wait, I thought you didn't get penalized for losing to FBS schools. That's not the case either. So every year it's kind of changed on what the committee is taking a look at. I wish they would come out with criteria to tell us exactly the direction we need to go into. And then and I know finances play a huge part of this. Let's push the envelope. I'd like to have some conference consortiums where conferences match up games against each other. Our problem is regionality. We don't have a lot of teams close to us. We've got to fly, so financially it's a burden. But if we can work some things out where contractually we can get some teams on a home and home basis, like I said, we'll play anybody anywhere on a home and home basis. Get us in the schedule, we'll put it in there, and we'll play. But if nobody will play us, what are we supposed to do from a strength of schedule standpoint? And now we've got 9 conference games. I heard this from a lot of the guys. Yeah, but y'all are too poor. You don't support your program, and that's why you got to play 2 FBS games. Okay, well, if we play a game on the road and we got to fly to it, come fly to us next year, but we'll go do it. We can afford that. We'll go do that. But we do play 2 FBS games. Are we getting penalized for that because we don't have that win? You know what I mean? Because we could have gone 8-3 the year before, or 8-4 the year before, and had that 8th win and only played 1 FBS game and played another FCS school possibly, right? But we didn't. We had to play 2 FBS games. So I think everything's got to be taken in consideration when you start looking at that. But I really think you got to turn on the film and look at the quality of players that you have. And when you have a first team All-American and a player of the year in this conference, and you got another guy who's the defensive player of the year in this conference, and we got some other quality players on both sides of the football, you got to get that consideration too without being criticized. And you look around and you got the automatic bids coming from other conferences that are non-scholarship. So don't tell me we didn't belong in the playoffs. Come play us. If you got the nerve to say we didn't belong, get your ass on a plane, come down and see us, or write a contract. We'll go see you first and we'll play. But when you hear the criticism coming from people like that, I think it's people that really don't watch the games. They don't watch the fact that we shut it down at halftime in 5 of our games this year. Oh, yeah, could we have scored 60? Yeah, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. That's not what I'm in this business for. So, at times we got some really good football teams here that probably didn't get enough credit. We beat Villanova here. We beat Idaho here. We beat Florida A&M here. So we won playoff games. I want to win the second one. I agree with you there. And maybe Illinois State, that wasn't such a bad loss when you look back on it now. So anyway, I got to get off my soapbox, Zach. I apologize to you.
I got a few more for you at the end of the
I'm,
end of the interview, man. I want to talk about
I'm
your
good.
quarterback. Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to talk about your quarterback room going into spring, man. Obviously, Kyle comes back, was really good last year.
Yeah.
Someone was super dynamic kid, but also, man, you guys bring in two transfers that are also very, very talented. What is that quarterback battle looking like right now? And you've not been shy about a two quarterback system? Is that something that you're looking to do again this upcoming year?
Yeah, it's always somebody willing to take control of it, right? Or somebody take control of it. Or sometimes a guy loses. I know over my past, I've had guys that they were not going to give up that spot, and therefore we played two guys. And then we've had times where a guy felt like he was a little bit behind, and he says, "All right, I'll just wait and bide my time." And that's kind of the guy you don't want, right? You want guys competing their ass off all the way until the end. I think the same thing's happening now. We've been through when we're doing this, we've been through 7 practices. We have number 8 today. And it's really, we've got 2 or 3 guys we feel capable of playing for us this coming season. So until somebody just steps up and says, this is all mine and it's a clear cut guy, we'll continue to play and develop personnel. And we do that at every position. Injuries are going to take place. And now with roster limitations like it is at 105, you got to be really careful with you guys because when you lose one, you better have somebody else willing to play or capable of playing and winning for you. We're just not putting 11 on the field. We got to put 11 on there that can win for us. So I think the quarterback position, Cole Welliver and Isaac, what's Isaac's last name? Jeez, mine. Huh? Mooring. His
Good
dad was here
morning.
the other day. Isaac Mooring. Both of those guys they're doing a good job. And then Casey Averard and Connor Nelson are back too. 2 younger guys that we got. Our room is strong. It's probably the deepest room that we've had since I've been here. Obviously, Cole Kelly was the best one we've had, but these guys right here pretty good.
I look at your defense, man. We've and shout out to y'all's SID department, and everything, Kimler and all them, and it's so great to have rosters here, man. In March, makes me and Timothy's job so much easier here as we get into the preseason. But now we look, I mean, you have 5 guys that played over 200 snaps last year coming back
Yeah.
defensively, only 5. Talk about that, just revamping that defense, and how hard is it in today's age of football to retain some of those top guys every year, man? When they have a breakout season, you get these other schools and their or agents saying, "Hey, we need to hit the portal." How hard is it to retain these guys, and how do you approach this with only 5 significant contributors coming back?
Yeah, we lost 2 starters in the secondary, right? But like I said, we recruit our bread and butter is from the high school kids. And those guys, we got younger guys that we recruit and develop and groom, and they play on special teams and things like that. But then when it's their time to play, they're ready to play. That's what spring ball is for, and that's what we're developing and growing those guys. And then when you need somebody, you got to go find one. You go get one in the portal, and we've had some good luck in the portal. But it's not because of volume. Because I think we do a good job of picking and choosing, and then also developing them when we get them here. But uh, I don't. We won't be quite as big this coming season as we were this past season. But I think we'll have a little bit more speed on defense, and that's kind of exciting. So it'll allow us to have maybe a little bit different identity than what we had in the past couple of years because of the size differential up front. But I think we'll be, from an athletic standpoint, we'll have a little bit more speed at all 3 levels, which will allow us to do some more things.
Really excited for your edge room. I think Khalid comes
Yeah,
back, and Evan Aubrey, who was a freshman
yeah.
All-American for us last year. Both those guys, super high ceilings. Coach, outside of quarterback, what are some of the most important positional battles that you and your staff are watching real closely as you guys go through spring practices?
Yeah, offensive line's big always, right? Zach, we've been very fortunate. Last year, we didn't have a transfer on our offensive line. All of our guys were all homegrown, came here out of high school, either as a walk-on or a scholarship guy. And the same's going to be this year. We'll have the same thing this year, and it's pretty. that's the part that I like because it speaks volumes about our culture. We lost 25 seniors last year. Well, how many schools have 25 seniors even on their roster anymore?
Not many.
And so I was excited about all 25 of ours graduated. And that's something I'm proud of. It's not just about the wins and losses. We're doing it the right way. And I feel good about that part. I think the offensive line is always the big thing. Our defensive line, we have more depth than what we had last year, and we had a lot of depth last year. You mentioned Evan. Evan's going to be a guy up front for us on the edge and Kaleb. But I think inside, we're going to have 4 or 5 guys we're going to be able to rotate. And then the other one is our linebacker position to see who's going to take over. That's so much production from KK Reno, so much leadership, who he is and what he was all about in the locker room and on the field for us. It's hard to replace. He's a 5th-year guy. Had a chance to leave the year before when he found out Kaleb was coming back. He said, "I'm coming back too. Let's do something special together." And that's the kind of relationships we built in here, and that lends us to long-term success, and we're on a consistent basis.
Yeah, excited. I think Jariah Johnson was a guy last year that
Yeah,
showed some flashes for y'all. I'm excited to see if he could take that step. Coach, now to end the interview, man, just a few questions about national stuff, man. So hopefully not too
sure.
many soapboxes here for you. But a lot of coaches that I've had on here have talked about the CFB schedule has really made it hard for FCS programs to thrive. I know the 2 transfer portal windows last year was a big thing because a lot of guys had breakout springs. I think South Dakota lost 4 starters in the spring window that they
Yep.
thought were coming back. How would you fix the college football schedule here with all the different moving parts? And I mean, coaches, we're talking things could change tomorrow.
They could, Zach. I don't think there's one easy fix. I really don't. I think there's the things that we've been doing the last few years or that have been done, and I'm a part of it, have been band-aids. And every time we close up one thing, something else pops open. And what you'd really want to do is get 50,000 feet up and look down. And the calendar is what it is. The school calendar is not changing. We have to be flexible enough to fit in the school calendar. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing and the third thing kind of go hand in hand. We cannot allow. We have to limit the amount of transfers that somebody can have in the course of their career. I don't think it's good for the game. I especially don't think it's good for the player. That's. I mean, I'd go if anybody can say that's good for the player. They're gonna have to back it up for me. I've been in this thing too long to see guys overcome adversity and grow and mature, and instead of running from the problems. There's no way somebody can tell me that's good for the player. And then the other thing is how long they're able to play. I'm not a big 6, 7, 8 year guy. I mean, I know I wouldn't want to leave either. I mean, I didn't want to leave college. I had a great 5 years in college. Hell, everybody who doesn't enjoy college life, right? Uh, but you got to go, man. You got to get out, and then that creates opportunities for younger guys. We're taking away those opportunities, but I don't think we're teaching kids how to do it, and we have to do that. The universities and the coaches themselves have to step up and say, we're going to sign on, and I know the courts control that. The courts have, but we have to say as an organization, we're going to sign on and say we're not playing anybody past this time. We're not doing these things. And if we do, we render ourselves ineligible for whatever, postseason play or whatever. And if we do that, now let's put that challenge in front of the courts. And if we keep losing all these court battles, I know this, they fire the coaches. We lose games, we get fired. Well, we losing all these court battles. Maybe we ought to take a look at our lawyers that are representing us in the courts. I don't know the guys. I'm not in a personal relationship with any of them. Don't know who they are, but we ain't winning nothing. So we need to figure that part out. But I think going to the week 0, backing the schedule up, uh, eliminating the conference championship games because really nobody wants to play in those because it affects the playoffs. I know I damn sure don't want to do it in the Southland because it does affect the playoffs and it could affect it in it. You think about it. You go all the way through the season and you're in first place, and then now you got to play the third place team or whatever, second place team, and you beat them already, and they beat you, and then they get the one bid to the playoffs, and you go,
Yeah.
wow, we're out. We knocked ourselves out by participating in this game. The money's a big issue for that at the FBS level. The bowl game situation, we have discussed this so many times. The bowls are such a huge positive impact on the communities and the charities that they serve. They have a purpose. They have a reason to be a part of it. But why don't we take the bowl games and put them what is now week 0, week 1? Make that week 1, put the bowl games there. Take the teams that you want there, make them interconference games, have some national spotlight, teams coming out of fall camp, spend 4 days somewhere and get ready for a bowl. There's your bonus. To get ready for the season, and the season kicks off with a bang. You got the Liberty Bowl hosting these two conferences. You got, and now you can have the conference games, not just, the bowl games, not just in the South. You can move them up north, where you can open up, expand the number of sponsorships you can have because the weather's not going to be bad. You can have them both in the north and the south. So I think you increase that, and there's an incentive for those teams to want to go play those games early in the season, because the complaint is you're playing too many easy teams, you're doing this, you're doing that. Well, now we can get that thing started even sooner. I think FCS has got it figured out really well as far as when to end this season. And the FBS, if they want to expand it, they've got to do something like that. You can't, I think the national championship game is going to be the end of January this year.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, gosh darn, you're looking at guys looking to transfer, looking to go somewhere else. There's no way they can get in a portal. The season's over with. They can jump in, then they're going to go start a semester in February. That's so you got to match up with the school calendar, and there's some answers to that. But people got to be willing to step up and say, you know what, let's fight it. We got to compete against the courts. If a judge from X university is alumni and he says, nope, he can play for his 10th year, he's going to play. We got an injunction against it. And it's, as the universities and the coaches, we got to say, we're not doing this anymore. There's my soapbox for it. There's a couple of solutions. There's some things to think about. I don't have all the answers. I don't know the finances involved, the legal aspect of it, none of that stuff. These are things that we've talked about as head coaches at different levels. I've got friends at both levels, and we've talked about some of the things that could help this situation out.
The last two questions, and the first is the future of the FCS has been a big talking point, especially now with North Dakota State moving up. You see all Sac State do it, South Dakota State and Tarleton. It's like a ticking time bomb for those two programs to try to make the jump. UC Davis already plays all their sports, and I think the Mountain West, so they're going to be going eventually. Villanova's talked about it. There's been a bunch of programs. In your opinion, Coach, there's been this big talk about the big split happening, right, where the P4 obviously goes and does their own thing. What is the future of the FCS? Do you see it more? Because we've seen schools like in your own state, Louisiana Monroe, been talking about potentially dropping down to FCS. We've seen UMass talk about it. Idaho just recently did it, and you saw how that kind of reinvigorated their program. They went from a bottom feeder to a national contender. Where do you fall on this as a coach who's coached at all the levels? What's the future of the FCS? Is it just a future G6, or is there going to be 3 Division I subdivisions?
I think there's 3 Division I subdivisions, Zach. I think there's your P4 guys, and they'll put a monetary limit as to where these guys need to be, what you need to invest in your programs to play football at that level, not necessarily other sports, but football at that level. And then I think there'll be a G6. Look, if I'm at a G6 school right now, why do I even want to go to the playoffs? I'm going to get my brains beat in. But at least I got a chance to win a national championship at this other level. And then the FCS level, look, at the end of the day, players need a place to play. Give them an opportunity to play. Let's create space for these guys to play. I don't care what level it is. With the transient way things are, and again, I want to slow that down. I don't want to stop it, because I think kids should be able to transfer, but I don't want to stop it. But at the same time, with the way things are now, guys can go from level to level. Right? So if it's not quite there for you, I think FCS has a vital role in what's going on. Division II has a vital role because those kids aren't having an opportunity to play. Recruiting now, we're getting better high school players than we've ever gotten because they're not getting the opportunity at the FBS level because schools are taking transfers instead of high school guys. So I think we're strong as we've ever been. Now you can say, well, the teams aren't as good. Well, Sam Houston left a couple of years ago. I thought we had pretty good representation. JMU left, pretty good representation. And you can go down the line, Kennesaw State, Georgia Southern, all those teams have left in the past, and FCS has still prospered. Why? Because there's still, for the universities who continue to play at this level, there's still a lot, there's an abundance of support from the alumni base. And again, it goes back to giving kids an opportunity to participate in the greatest game they got. And if we don't do that, if we minimize that somehow, we're going to keep that from happening. And I don't think that should happen. I'm not gonna. I'm short for this game. I'm not on the back. I'm on the back end of my career. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for young coaches to understand their roles as to from a development standpoint of these players, and just giving them a chance to play and show them what it takes to play this game at any level, not just the going to the national championship game in FBS every year, but at any level. To play at that level is an honor and a privilege, and it should not be taken lightly. So we can't lose sight of that.
Coach, and the final question here. Well, we've been ending all our recent interviews with this, and we just talk about the ever changing world of college football. And every coach has the core non negotiable principles of their culture that they want to build in their program. How do you balance keeping those non negotiables, but also staying flexible and evolving with a game that requires you to be different almost every single week now in college football?
Yeah, it's who you are as a person, right? Society has changed over years. Society is ever changing, right? Politically, socially, morally, everything. But that shouldn't change the way you are as a person, how you feel. If you're a God-fearing person, if you go to church on Sundays, if you don't, I mean, because there's certain outside influences on the way that you believe and what you believe in. If you're strong about your beliefs, it's not going to change who you are. And I feel the same way about this. Other schools can do whatever the hell they want to do. It doesn't affect us at all. I don't care. I think we do a great job with our players. We can reference that because of the number of guys that stay here, that graduate from here. If we had the money, we'd keep all those guys who've been jumping in the portal. We wouldn't lose those guys. But they're leaving for financial reasons. They're not leaving because they're disgruntled. And I think when you talk about the things that are ever changing, our program doesn't change. We still have the same core principles. So we're going to work hard every day. We're going to go to class. We're going to get over here. We're going to be on time. Everything that we do, we're going to be conscientious about what we're doing and how we treat others. We treat everybody with respect around our locker room, our trainers, our managers. Everybody says that, but they don't hold everybody to that standard. We do. We hold everybody to that standard around this building. And I think it's really important for that to take place. So outside influences do not influence us because they don't matter. And I don't care whether it comes. I tell the players this. I love your mom and dad. I know you love your mom and dad. But when they say something about what we're doing here, they're not here every day. So you got to respect them, be nice to them, be courteous, but they're wrong. They don't know what they're talking about because they're not here experiencing what you're going through. And to go through everyday life as a college athlete right now is not an easy situation. It's tough. And there's a lot of eyes on you all the time. And with the advent of cell phones and social media, there's so much stuff that's taking place. So we help them up front, Zach, as to how they should handle themselves as a man and grow into that situation. And I think that's why we're able to get guys as 18 and they walk out of here as 22 and 23 and completely changed, but they can impart that knowledge and that maturity as that growth takes place on the younger guys. And that's our academic situation is outstanding. And it's you don't have to be influenced by others. You don't have to follow the crowd. That's not what you have to do. You got to have some strong moral beliefs, and those things will carry you through all the adversity that you run into.
Coach, I can't thank you enough, man. It's been way too long since you've been on the
Yeah,
show, and you dropped some gems today, man. So I really, really appreciate you. I know you're going through spring practices. You're busy. Still made time to give me almost, 40 minutes, man, on the show. So I really, really appreciate it. I'm
yeah.
looking
Buy me
forward
a
to
beer
seeing you.
next time. Buy me a
I
beer. There
got
you
you.
go.
I got to get back down to a game. I haven't been since that Idaho game, so I got to come down and see you guys in person, man. So
That was a
next time,
good one, man. That was a
oh,
great game
ev
there.
coach, every game I've been to with y'all has been an insane game. I was at the Idaho game in the playoffs. I was at the Hail Mary win against Incarnate Word with Lindsey Scott
Oh
when y'all hit the
wow,
big
yeah.
Hail Mary. I mean, like those 2 games will forever live in my memory of just like
Yeah.
I was like, I need to come to Strawberry every single week because if they're all the games are like this, it makes it so much fun. But again, Coach, I appreciate it. I look forward to chopping up with you at Southland Media Day, and I'll make sure to make a trip over to Hammond. It's only 2 hours from Mobile during the season. But guys, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. But for head coach Frank Scelfo, for myself, the Blue Bloods, FCS Football Central, we are out for right now.